Unstoppable Kickass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
And please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Hello, Misfits for Life. It is January 2023. Can you believe it? Happy New Year. Hope you guys had an amazing holiday. Hope you had an amazing New Year. Truth be told, I had a great holiday. I went to Chicago with my wife and my family, had a great time. I avoided getting sick all the time I was there. And then I came back. And as a result of my being worn down a little bit, I got COVID. So no, I'm not going to infect you, but I am sitting here in miserable shape. But I'm here because I enjoy doing the show. I love doing the show. And more importantly, the guest that I have tonight is going to knock your socks off. It's actually going to be an incredible interview. So if I have a little brain fog, if I stumble on my words, forgive me. I am a little bit miserable right now, but I'm super excited to bring you this guest tonight. And just want to wish you all an amazing new year. You know, it's the start of the new year. And when we think about the new year, we think about the new you. I was just talking backstage with one of Mario's friends, Robert. We were talking about, new year, new you. And the thing I encourage about you guys the most, when you think about the new year, what are some things that you can do to really get out of your own way and be able to have the life that you really choose to have? And in today's show, we're going to be talking about how we can eliminate fear, how we can increase our confidence, and how can we shift our perspective about our past, present, and our future to really see that life is happening for us, irregardless of what is going on in our life, and to see that there's the beauty in the challenge, because through the growth that we have, that growth causes us to be able to go on to do better things and bigger things when we get outside of our comfort zone. So the thing for this year, I encourage you, if something is if you're afraid of something, if something scares you, if you've been apprehensive about it, take this year to really go after that, because, life is short. Life is super short. And I want to see you guys out there being successful. So whatever I can do as your no excuses coach, please reach out to me. I'm always here for you. I've got a couple of slots for coaching. If that interests you, of course, you can always hit me up. And just appreciate you guys all being here. We got Robert in the house. What's up, Robert? Happy New Year, brother. Hope you're doing awesome. I appreciate you being here already. And we're just going to have a great show. So tonight, I'm just going to get right into it. Tonight, the guest I recently met probably a couple of months ago through my coach, Sally Anderson, the great Sally Anderson. So thank you, Sally, for watching. She said, she's always introducing me to people, and she says, you got to meet this guy, Mario. He's just a tremendous soul. And I think you guys will really get along together. You guys have a lot of similarities, and I think he'd really enjoy meeting you as well. So I was like, okay, cool. And anybody Sally introduces me to, I really take heart to develop those relationships and foster those, because I trust and respect Sally 100%. And so we had, Mario and I started having a couple of exchanges on emails. And then we had a quick interview chat, like a Zoom chat, just to see, get to know each other and whatever, and to be on his show. And we just really got on really super quick. And I just really was looking at this gentleman and saying, how does this guy have so much energy and so much enthusiasm and so much beauty about his life? And was really curious about digging into that. And as a result of our initial relationship, he was kind enough to send me these books, his two books, The True Price of Freedom, which is his recent one. And then this one, Blood Soaked Soil. And to be honest with you, it takes me a while to read books. Guys, I host a book club. If you're ever interested in joining that book club, let me know. But it takes me a while to read books. But fortunately, since I've been sick, and I think this is why COVID happened for me, is I was able to read these two books since last night. And I just got to tell you guys, fasten your seatbelts, get something to write notes down with, because I know I tell you this quite often, but this is truly an amazing individual who has overcome and survived through so many horrific experiences in his life, both personally and professionally, that I really want you guys to take to heart what he is saying, because it's the same things that I say. I talk about resiliency and confidence and getting through those difficult challenges, and not to look back on your life and say, the reason why I can't do something is because this, that, and that. The reason why I am doing something is because this, that, and that. So think about that, perspective shifts. And with that, we're going to welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show, Mr. Mario Bekes. Mario, what's going on, brother? How are you this afternoon, this evening, this morning from Australia?
Chris, that's correct, Chris. Look, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm encouraging everybody who is, following the Chris. Feel free, guys. His show is a new chapter for all of us, particularly for me. I met Chris, as I mentioned before, through the mutual friend and the coach, amazing Sally Anderson. And the beautiful thing it is, Chris, that you today displayed something what most people will not admit, and that's the courage. Courage is as well, necessary to be the coward. But the courage today you're displaying is to having the COVID, having the sweating your ass.
I'm literally sweating right now.
Look, I know that feeling. And, having me regardless and despite all of your disadvantage of having the COVID, and people are usually when they're sick and have a flu, and men's flu, it's the most hardest thing on the planet. You agree with me? So like
I do not do sick very well. My wife is really impressed with me because normally I don't sit down. Normally I don't lay down, but I've literally been in bed for like the last 4 days and just take it easy on myself. I don't want to stress out my body. I'm getting a little bit older now, and I don't want to be one of those superheroes that says I can do everything and also knock out and then wind up having.
No, I admiring you, and thank you for me. Thank you for having me on your show, Chris. So like let's go jam, bro. You are for me like the highlight. So like that's the good thing.
Oh, come on, you say that to everybody.
No,
you butter everybody up. But
yes.
the thing I got to tell you about Mario, the thing about you, Mario. Sorry, my brain is like all distorted.
That's okay.
Is meeting you. You're such a effervescent person. You're so positive and you're so loving and wanting to help and wanting to change the world and help humanity. And then after reading your books, I have so many questions. I literally don't do, and this is honest. People, my viewers don't know. My viewers know this. Is that I normally don't do a lot of research on my guests. This show is called Raw and Unscripted for a specific purpose, just to get to know somebody raw and unscripted. Like you and I are sitting at a bar, we're sitting in a coffee shop, having some Turkish coffee, which I don't think I could ever stand. And you talked about that in your book. I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, that's probably nasty as hell." But just being able to have you here and to be able to highlight some of the stuff that you've been through is truly remarkable. So I just applaud you in everything that you've done. And in that research, I've come up with probably about 20 questions. And normally I come up with like 3 or 4 questions in my brain, like, okay, this is the way I want the interview to go. But there's so much I want to know about you because you're such an exceptional individual. You and I had this conversation. We were talking about, you said, "Chris, tell me your story." And I could see you were a little bit like, "What's this guy about?" And I tell you my story and I spend like 4 minutes telling it to you. And you sat back and you're like, "Normally people don't impress me," because he goes, "But you told me," he goes, "I'm thoroughly impressed with you." That is such a huge compliment coming from the person that you are, and reading your story is just phenomenal. So I just wanted to share that with you. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Normally I start off the show a little bit different because your story is so unique. Talk about what these books are about, and talk about your short backstory of what these are about, and then I'm going to dig into some questions that are going to surely inspire our audience to think better, think differently about themselves and their own past.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say again, thank you for having me on your Raw Unscripted podcast show. Secondly, I'd like to say thank you to all your guests, all your listeners and viewers of your show, finding time to listen to me. It is absolutely a privilege to talk to you for one simple reason. For good portion of my life in Australia, I was a little bit sitting like not at the back, but in the dark corner of the every premises, because I believe it that if I open my mouth, nobody will understand me. So encouraging all your guests, feel free to just go on a Croatian translator, an English translator for my interview. Joke on the side, the books, I think that we all make the books for the one simple reason. Recently, I was overseas on a trip with my son, as you know, for 21 days, and I survived. He survived, so like this is good thing. It's like first of all, he understand me, I understand him. And on that trip, I heard that Prince Harry, he published his book, which he got at $20 million the deal. Now, he didn't write that book. The guy, despite all education, everything else, is not capable to write a book. And the ghostwriter comes out and say, yes, it was me who wrote his book, and spend quite time to understand. We don't have this privilege, Chris. You, me, nobody else in this life. We need to put our story as best possible we can. And I'd like to say thank you for everybody who actually read my book and yourself. I know that you have no time to read all these books. So my books representing the life, in essence, what a life it is. And the life is a battlefield. We all facing different battles. And we have some people have accustomed to win every battle, every war. You and I, we can't. And me being as just a kid, in communism, who didn't know nothing better. I believe it, being the military man is a truly the imperative for me. And 86, I was 14 years old. I just come out from the juvenile, 6 months, and my parents kicked me out on Christmas Eve. That love story was, was continuing with my grandfather. So my parents was, didn't know nothing better. They're simple peasants, simple communist type workers, waking up early morning, drinking a lot of alcohol, believing in better tomorrow, what the party says. I wanted to believe as well. So 86, my parents kicked me out, and my grandfather was
Kicked you out on
somehow
Christmas Eve,
Christmas Eve, exactly, because they were so drunk. They were so
1986.
drunk. Yeah, in 1986, they're so drunk. And don't forget, in communism, there was no celebration of the Christmases and all these things because that's glorifying something what's bigger than party, the God. How we can celebrate the God or the birth of Jesus Christ, because the party is everything what you know, what you should know. So they kicked me out anyway. My grandfather took me under his umbrella, and my grandfather was at stage second man in communist Yugoslavia in secret police intelligence services, and he sent me military school despite all my bad grades and being juvenile. He put his name and his reputation on a line to be accepted. And one thing leads to another. I hope I'm going to be general. I was
General Mario.
Yeah, General Mario. Like I'm gonna come conquer the U.S. one day. I'm gonna show the Americans how great communism it is. Seriously. And like my big mouth and bad grades. Actually led me to the summer school. Summer school was being consisted from attending the schools for the special gifted kids, right, in military school, which basically was they recruited you for the intelligence services, but not for the smart guys in the office. You'll one day travel outside of the country and you're gonna solve these problems, right, like in the movies. And at that stage, I didn't know what it is, but they're teaching you all this funny stuff, how to poison people, how to set up the explosion apartment, how to read the invisible ink and these things. When you're 15, 16, 17 years old guy, that's what the life it is. At that stage, I didn't know that actually Yugoslavia is falling apart. As we know, the Berlin Wall fell. Last bastion, 1990, the Romania goes into the civil war for a couple of days, and then Yugoslavia started. They crumble, and like a apple pie, dry apple pie just crumbles everywhere, and the civil war started. And as I mentioned in my books, I didn't choose the war chose me, and I had only one choice. That's what it is, to fight for democracy, because democracy for me at this stage definition was America, McDonald's, Coke,
And Nike. Don't forget Nike. You had
and
that.
Nike, of course. I have the box. Could you imagine? Like I was having the box of the shoe box. Sorry, Nike, and I was keeping that box for ages. They'll never have shoes before. So anyway, 1991, 14th July, my parents they fled Croatia. They left me a message, we are okay. And at that morning, I went into war. So that's the start of my career. 18 years old, let's go to war.
18 years old. I mean, that's I think back to when I was 18 years old. I was just coming out of being homeless for 4 years. Didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I can't even imagine. My friends were enlisting. They're like, Chris, why don't you think about enlisting? I'm like, there's no way I could take orders from somebody. There's no way I would cut my hair. There's no way you could get me anywhere near somebody who would spit in my face, because I would punch them in the throat, and that would be it. That's the way I was back in those days. Kind of still am a little bit. But being 18 years old, talk to us about that relationship with your parents. You kind of glossed over it a bit. What was your relationship like with mom and dad? Talk to us about that, because I mean, that's just unconscionable. But at the same time, look at the beautiful person you became.
I am very grateful you asked me this question. As I mentioned at the beginning, I truly believe, I'm just going to reflect something else. I spent now 21 days with my son on road. He's going to be 20 years old in February. And I was watching him while we traveled, how he looks like, that soft skin, soft spoken, all this arrogance, the testosterone, like all these hormones. And I think myself, I was exactly like him when I went in the war. And I'm like a hawk, like you, like every parent, just try to be over their kids. So when you ask for my parents, look, my parents they only knew the things they knew. My father was a great worker. He was a great welder, but he was a believer in communism. He was even the president of the union. So when somebody mentioned me unions, I think about my father, who didn't know how to, sign himself. He didn't know how to make a signature of his name properly. That's how he has a 4 grades of school, and he was heavy alcoholic. And my mom, she was 16 years younger than him. Obviously, my dad loves the younger girls.
Yeah.
Hoping's gonna, he was married the girl of the guy who was in communism, very highly positioned, but they didn't make enough, that. The life consisted from, drinking. My mom, she was a kleptoman. She was stealing quite a lot. But look, they loved each other. They supported each other in all these endeavors. I couldn't stand them together. But, I forgive them. And, the highlights of my parents, life in my parents was, they're telling me there's never enough money to buy me something but they have it for the smokes, for the coffee, for the alcohol and everything else.
Right.
And then my father has a, very distinguished way to show me love by breaking the chairs on me, the tables, like in the furniture. That was for him, normal. That was his extracurriculum activity. And my father was a midget man. Literally, he was. I think he was a 5'2". So it was my mom. She was like a quad, gigantor woman.
You like the young women and the taller women.
Yeah, like I don't know who was in charge there, but that was a day. The national sport, was how to inflict me more pain as possible. And I could turn the same way, like my parents. Chris, I'm pretty sure what a means to have the parents who are looking after themselves, not after the children.
Exactly, 100%.
So I don't need to nobody share teach the lessons about life. Parents, we get the parents, we don't choose them, we get them by the birth. For me, it was difficult to understand why my parents doing this, what they're doing, and blaming me for everyday misfortune. But I didn't know nothing better, and I consider my father coward for many, many years because he abandoned me like when the war started, my mom and my dad. I couldn't understand how he can leave your kid. Chris, could you leave? I'm asking your audience, feel free, tell the Chris, would you leave your kid?
Not in a million years.
If the war starts, down and drain. And as I say, I was 18 years old, I had first sex, that was a good thing. So
yeah.
At least I was a virgin.
All 30 seconds of it, right?
Yeah, it was that was okay.
That's what I remember. My first time was 30 seconds. I was like, wow, that was really neat. I want to do that.
Man, look, that 30 seconds, that story about 30 seconds lasted for years. That was the best sex for everybody.
Yeah.
But I consider my father the coward. But actually, then I realized later in my life, he was a very brave man, because you need to have the courage and bravery to be coward, because you need to convince yourself that what you're doing is the right thing. And I know one thing later in life, he wasn't alive much long after I met him first time, 93. He was, for 2 years, disappeared from my life. He didn't exist. But I remember in some moments before he died, he told me, I wish this, I wish that. And I said to him, well, now it's a little bit too late, because you're going to die in the next couple of hours or couple of days. So whatever you're wishing, I know I'm never going to be a man like you. So my lesson from this is, doesn't matter how difficult it is, doesn't matter how life position himself towards you and gives you obstacles and the minefields. And you, Chris, will agree with me. Doesn't matter how much we plan. That's what I learned in the military. Doesn't matter how much we plan. And the moment we left army barracks, the plane was in a drain. It was just like it disappeared, right?
I got that out of that book.
But with the kids, you can always have the plan. That plan is to love them. Love them and care for them. Doesn't matter how difficult it is, how life it try to destroy you or the people around you, but the love towards a kid, it should be, unflinching. And that's what my lesson is even today for everybody. If somebody disagree, feel free, let the Chris know, and Chris gonna let me know.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would disagree, but dude, seriously. And when you think about that, I don't want you to gloss over this. So you're 18 years old, you wake up in the morning, you go out to the main room. Actually, you sleep in the living room, right? And there's a piece of paper. I don't want you to gloss over this. You're 18 years old, the war is coming, and you have a sibling, right?
Yes, younger brother. Yeah,
younger brother. So So you wake up and there's a piece of paper. Talk to us about that piece of paper. And then after that, I want you to talk about how you have forgiveness for your parents. You said earlier, I forgive my parents. So I want to talk about that. How you see that piece of paper, and then how through the mental abuse, the physical abuse, the neglect, everything that you experience, which is, I can't tell you guys enough to get these books. I'm going to put the links in the show notes, but these two books, True Price, or let's see, Blood Soaked Soil and The True Price of Freedom. Holy moly. So talk to us about that. You wake up, you see this note. And then the second part of that question is, how do we find forgiveness in people who treat us in such a way that is really despicable?
Look, the life before that very moment was like a Notebook movie, right? Everything was beautiful. Then suddenly everything's crashing down. The girlfriend I had a sex for 30 seconds was, she was the love of my life. I built the castle in the sky. Like we already had a family and many kids. We already baked the plans for everything. What did happen? And you can relate this in what's it calling civil war in US.
Mm-hmm.
That very moment, Yugoslavia was consist from 6 republics and 2 territories, and we are all being brought as a brothers and sisters, and the belief, the party is the greatest thing, and we're gonna live forever, and we're gonna crush America and everybody else. But life, it's different. Night before, I find out my girlfriend, she's fleeing to Serbia because she belongs to different nationality, which I knew it, but at that very moment, that was no problem in Yugoslavia. That day before becomes a problem because the Serbians become my enemies, my enemies. And, I was educated in military school to defend the constitution of Yugoslavia. It doesn't matter what part of your nationality you are, what religion you are, and everything else. So I believe we all are brothers and sisters. Wow, how wrong I was, right? So the war broke out on the 14th of July for me, and I wake up in the morning. I heard that loud banging on the door, like like a James Bond, and he will do all this magic, jumping from the balcony. Anyway, I couldn't jump nowhere because I was drunk day before, and I opened the door. There was a military police and a civilian police. At that stage in Croatia was a 2 different civilian police, Croatian police and police. Right? It's just he didn't know what's happening. It was just like a mess. It was a duplication of everything. Independence declared, and but Croatia didn't have the army, and the military police comes to me and they told me I need to report myself into army barracks. Otherwise I'm gonna get a bullet. Literally get a bullet. I didn't say this in a book because it doesn't sound right. But I try to explain it's like I'm a cadet, in the military school. He said like, yeah, fuck you, in a military school, you've been assigned to the infantry, are you gonna be the commanding officer? And I'm like, fuck, that doesn't sound fucking good.
I'll pass, thank you, but go to the next door.
Correct. I already know that the army barracks was under some type of the semi-siege by the Croatian forces, police forces, right, which is Ministry of Interior, and that was like a special forces. The first armed force was special forces of Ministry of Interior. And I said to myself, "Fuck, that doesn't look fucking right." It's like, look, I need to dress myself. We're coming 2 hours. It's like I come in army barracks. Long story short. And the couple tried to wink me, and I said, "What the fuck is that sign? What's happening?" So I'm looking to the balcony. I'm seeing my neighbors, Serbian neighbors, they're packing the cars, they're fleeing. They're like a Moses on Red Sea. You can see in the movies, like Croatia's one side, Serbs, Yugoslavs, and everybody else on the other side. My cities was being under besieged by the military. It was a tampon zone, but you have the Serbian rebels, other side, Croatian Ministry of Interior forces on other side. So it was a quite confusing situation. Now we all believe that it's going to be Croatia going to declare independence. We're going to become a federation, like a true federation, right? Under the one umbrella of Yugoslavia. But army becomes sort of the tool in creating the greater Serbia at that stage, actually, which we didn't know. Mm-hmm. And it's time to settle old scores. But how are we going to settle old scores? We're going in First World War because, Croatia was inside of Austro-Hungarian monarchy. But that was not good enough. Let's go settle scores a little bit more recent. Let's go Second World War. Croatia was on the side of Germans, right? And Croatia has 2 concentration camps, and the millions of the Jews and Gypsies and Serbs was being slaughtered. That's a reality. That's a truth. But, of course, we need to wash the sins of our grandfathers. And I got in kitchen. And I found the message, and the message says, "We are okay." And that's it. Fuck off. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
Your
What the fuck is
parents
that
left you
supposed
that
to
message. We are okay, but they
Yeah.
left you. They took your brother and they left you. How did
That's
that
right.
feel in that moment? Like, oh my,
Hungry. Fridge was fucking empty. Empty. I was so hungry because I was drunk night before. And I tried to figure out what's happening. So, like, I grabbed them, make a coffee, have a smoke. Um, and I tried to understand what's happening. But as you audience will appreciate, 1991 there was no mobile phones. There was nothing, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
you can't reach them. I can send them the letter to somebody, but I don't know where they are.
right.
And then I went downstairs in my local coffee shop, and as I say, like one side Serbs, one side Croatians. Marty, where you gonna go? What you gonna do? What you gonna decide? You're gonna fight for democracy? And I was like, where the fuck my parents are? You know what I mean? And the people who knew I didn't want to tell me nothing. My grandfather told me that who was living a couple buildings far away from us. So that's the father of my mother. He said, I don't know where she's gone. I said, like, everybody, like my grandfather was very sick man that stage, and diabetes, and his wife and everything else. And I was like, okay, so what am I gonna do now, Chris? First, I have
Yeah.
no food, I have no money. I need to report army barracks. Obviously, gonna get a bullet because I'm Croatian, and they will obviously use every opportunity to put me as a cannon fodder against the Croatian forces. And I decided to go fight for democracy. So, like, few hours later, I was on a bus for the training camp of the Special Forces of Ministry Interior of Republic of Croatia. But that was all happening like I can't explain it in
Like,
a movie.
boom,
Like
boom, boom, boom. It was like, wow, you just wake up and your life changed overnight. Literally.
like overnight, I'm still thinking about that note. And 7 days later, like imagine now just watching the movie and you are in a dark, confined space, metal space. And all what you can hear is a tack, 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 ding, 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 ding. The bullets hitting that metal plates. That's armored personal vehicle.
Wow.
And suddenly doors are open. 7 days later, open. And you can just see it. And you see the bodies there. And everybody says to me, lie down, Bekes. I said, fuck, this is the war. Like, and I was believing I'm gonna be fucking Rumble. In contrary, like I was moron, I fucking took it, the biggest machine gun. It's M42 German one in a 7.9. I mean, it's just a fucking 13 kilos, man. I mean, I was
18
kilos
years
then.
old, you're holding a machine gun.
Yeah, like like fucking the 500 bullets belt. I mean, like when I run out of that armored personnel vehicle, like it was like a D-Day landing. I mean, against the Germans. The bullets are flying, and I see that dead soldier. Yugoslav army was dying, and everybody says to me, "Shoot him one more time." Like, how am I gonna shoot him? Like, I was so afraid. I was petrified. And then I realized the war is not what we saw on the movies.
Yeah.
And I was still thinking about that note about my parents, and I was thinking quite a long time about that note because I couldn't realize where they are. I heard from them 7 months later through some phone, some neighbors, whatever it was.
So in that process, and thank you for sharing that, Mario. It's just absolutely. I mean, you guys got to read the book. He's not even doing it justice. There's so much in there. There is so much to unpack. Like literally, we could have a 7-hour conversation. I told you, Mario. I said we usually do a 45 to an hour show, but we might go 7 hours. So, so in thinking about that, there's something that I hope I don't catch you off guard. But I asked you at the beginning of the show if there's anything off topic. The one thing I want to ask you is, what's your relationship with your brother? I mean, why did they take your brother versus you and not take you? I mean, was there something like, was there adversarial?
It's very simple. Like, it's very simple. Like, like he was a favorite one. He was, the guy who is younger favorite, and he was a future for them, obviously. So, like, my parents have always been, those ones who told me that they're embarrassed for me. Look, Chris, I learned one thing in my life, and that is sob stories doesn't work with me, with nobody, because I can genuinely understand people, what they're going through in their life, what they experience, and but we all have the parents, what we have. We all have the life decisions to do. You don't choose parents; you get them by the birth. But life decisions, it's your own fault or your own rewards, as you appreciate, right?
Yeah.
My brother was 6 years younger than me. He was just an accident by my parents. Plane accident, because in communism you need to get enough points to get the place to live. So government gives you unit, whatever it is. So my parents to get, I think, 25 points. I need to make another child. So that's like, that's true.
Sounds like a fucking rewards card, man.
Yeah, but like I remember on the last time when I saw my mother, 2008 on my birthday. I was in Croatia to visit them, and my mom, she told me, I wish the day you were born, you just slip down from my vagina and hit the towels on the floor and die. And that was my mom's last words. And I tried to understand, I felt devastated when she told me this, and because I tried to understand what I done to them, what I done to them. And Chris, whatever I did in my life, have I embarrassed them? Absolutely. Have I was bad person, terrible person? Yes, I did. I stabbed the guy. I was 30 and a half years old. I stabbed him with a screwdriver twice because of somebody of the older guys told me to do it. I did it, because I was thinking myself, that's a cool, was gonna love me. But when the police come to you, just like
I read that. I was like, what? Oh my God.
So and I was a petty thief, like I was done all this one. And can I justify this now? Like I wanted to be loved? Perhaps. Could I justify nobody loved me? Perhaps. But who cares? I done a decision deliberately, purposely, consciously to do these things, and I harm people on that path. My parents could choose be different parents, but as I said, like my father chose to be the true father and to exercise on me the all possible powers, because I do remember 93 when we met for the very first time. I was a different boy, and I always said to people don't understand when you go in a war, doesn't matter what type of war, you age, and I aged in 2 years, like at least 10 years. And my father tried to be my father. That stage, he tried to be, I know everything, and he put a hand on me, and I took his hand and said, "This is the last time you ever touch me in my life."
Yeah.
And then I saw the man who was very brave, because my father was one of these type of fathers who will tell you, "Chris, you motherfucker, you embarrass me, go smash this guy. Chris, go fucking do this, go do this." But when it comes the crunch time, your father will not be there. And that's I can understand those daddies, who are the big on a paper, but they will make it they misery, will leave their misery of life to their children, make their children to fight their wars and everything else. My father was one of them. Before the war was like, "Oh, we should kill everybody. We should fight for democracy. We should blah blah." Well, it comes time for the fighting. My daddy says like, "Well, fucking, I can die here." So like, I hold my wife Andy's, and fucking run away. My father ran away in Germany, then Hungary, first Hungary, then Germany. They got a good money from German government, and then he comes back in Croatia, in his birthplace, which I fucking even know, man. Like it's like 60 kilometers away from me. Like, come on, man. And you didn't even call me to ask me how I am. Chris, I was wounded in my head second time, sorry to jump in this. And then my mom, she comes in hospital. This is the funniest thing. And the doctor says, "Stop crying," to my mom. She's continuously crying. And doctor says, "Why the fuck you're crying? He's going to be okay." She says, "That's the problem. I think he's going to die so I can get the car and the unit and everything else." The doctor says like, "So you wanted your son to die?" And she says, "Well, I was thinking he's going to die. That's the reason why we are here. Like, so we can, because as a mother of the fallen soldier, government rewarded with a unit car, taxation free forever and everything else." That was my mom.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm sitting my eyes open like this. By the way, that day I find out my girlfriend, she's married some other guy, another love story. Oh, sorry. So like, that's the series. She's very upset. I apologize. So, that was the life, Chris, and I couldn't laugh. I couldn't understand what's happening. I couldn't understand why these people want me dead. Why that's when she left me for somebody else while I'm fighting war. I was thinking I was hero. And that only thing I knew it was to be more destructive, in a war and everything else. So it's more anger, fueling, and on top of the fuel goes as well, all these white lines, then goes the vein in vodka in the veins, just LSD, and I was thinking I was invincible. That was a war for me.
Mm. Wow, dude. And you didn't even talk about that in the book, that particular part. But then they had the audacity, once they found out that you were in the war, to come and ask you for a favor to get you to get the papers for your dad so that they could actually return to work, because they left their jobs. And then they came back and asked you, because you were in the military, to ask your operating general or
Chris,
something like that.
like I'm telling you, like, yeah, there's a reason why this has happened to me. Like, I didn't, because if I was going with that part and just depicting my parents as an enemy of the states, like, I mean, as Al Capone, people not, believe all this story. But the thing it is, my mom, she had she's the best kept secret. She was, I think, her lies was more secretly than the life of Osama bin Laden before he found for 10 years, right? So deep, fucking the caves, man. Like I'm telling you.
Well, she even reported your dad for going in the bathroom and listening to the radio, right?
Yeah, the
She reported her own husband.
Because she gets the points, she gets social points. They're talking now, conspiracy theories about social points. Communism has a social points. It's like, before the digital era. So yeah, like, before the communism, the radio, people don't understand one thing. In communism, everything must be reported. So TV was reported, you pay TV dues, to the state TV station, even one TV channel, radio channel, TV channel one. Yeah. Radio channel and TV, only one channels, but you need to pay. So my father was having small transistor. He got it from somewhere, and he will go at 5 o'clock in the morning to get the news, Voice of America, and the Voice of America was being broadcasted from the Austria, right? So people can hear what's happening around, around the world, because in communism, when you're watching the news, you see there come this 8 o'clock news. First come this big globe, like Earth comes out from nowhere, and then comes on behind like a sun, from the east comes a big red star fucking shining over the globe, and that's the start of the news, like, and then comes the news. And today, Communist Party of Yugoslavia decided it's gonna be better next year. Like, yay, next year, like we're gonna get more taxes because the Americans had a spaceship. Yay, we're gonna have more taxes. So that was the news, and my father was listening to that radio, and my mom, she reported him, and I do remember when the secret police come, my grandfather find out the same day, but it was too late. My father was being destroyed. He's been bashed, badly. And it was my mom, she got him this from. Anyway, my mom, they asked me in 93 to I lie, and I asked the favors to be reported. He was they called them like a labor units, right? Because towards the end of 91, the Croatia was just on the brink of collapse. We have economical sanctions, so no weapons, no equipment, no medicine, no nothing. It was bad. Organized crime was brewing, with the war always come these beautiful things, the drugs, prostitution, all this blah, blah. And then comes the best part, comes my mom. So they have the total collapse of the military, right? So they start doing the recruitment from 16 to 66. So my unit has been filled at 75% people 55 plus with the stomach cancer, with the stomach ulcers, deaf, blind. So we used to give these people to dig the trenches, we're gonna die basically. It was like a bottle of the storm. So I lied, if my father was there, I asked a favor so he doesn't lose the job. My mom, she lost the job. So what I did, I employed my mom in military. That was a mistake. So yeah. So that's a life. That was a life.
Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, your life, we talk about my life as a made for movie story. Your life is like 10 times that. So talk to us about that forgiveness component. I mean, where you're at today, you're a father of a beautiful son. You just spent an enormous vacation with him, 19 years old. Talk to us about forgiveness, and then talk to us about how you became a different parent, irregardless of how you were parented. I mean, I think that's beautiful. I did the same thing. I had, physical abuse in my life, mental, physical abuse. I was bullied at school. had my ass kicked on every street corner, everything. And my mom warned me. She goes, never have kids. And I said, why? And she goes, number one, we have thin jaws, so their teeth will be overcrowded, which I thought was a stupid excuse. And then she said, because, and this is the thing that you'll appreciate, she says, abuse runs in our family. And I looked at her and I was in my 30s and I said, the fuck it runs in our family. I said, you chose to hit me. You chose to beat the shit out of me. You chose to do those things to me. In respect, I can sit there and look back and say they were happening for me because they made me a stronger individual. I don't condone it. I don't want to go through that a period again. But I was able to, through this process of recognizing that it was a choice, that I turned the tide. And now with my son, he's 6 years old, God's honest truth, never spanked him, never had to hit him. We have to, be very direct with him sometimes, but I have never laid a physical hand on him. And I'm so proud of that, because there's been times where your instinct is like, okay, I just want to fix the situation and move on. I've had to walk out of the room, but I am so proud of the parent that I became. Unfortunately, my mom passed away before I became a dad. So I know she sees me spiritually, so she wasn't here to enjoy this. But talk to us about that, how you were able to find forgiveness and then how you turned it around as a parent for your son.
Well, I need to start. The life starts with the death. You know what I mean? And I don't remember my father was, he passed away in January 96. And at that stage, I was in hospital taking shrapnels for my mouth. Long story short, I was married that stage in Croatia, and on the funeral, I was finding out that the person I was with, she's pregnant, and I was hoping that was me, but unfortunately, while they're putting the casket of my father in the grave, she explains to me, "No, with you, with somebody else," right? And well, the life is full of the. Look,
I was a hug.
I realized, let's go like a Teletubbies, right? I was blessed enough, Chris, that that stage I realized that the environment that I'm living with, it's unforgivable. It's not about me to forgive other people, but people don't forgive you, because once when you marry Bekes, you forever marry Bekes. Nobody cares what you're doing now. They remember you as a 12 years old. And that's a story which is most appropriate to say. Mario Bekes stepped the guy 13 years old, or Mario Bekes is now the commanding officer in special forces, and he saved their lives. Nobody cares for that one. That's one is better, That's
Right.
one is more
drama.
More drama. Yeah, of course, because we remember this guy. Moving forward, I think that I'm truly thankful to life to give me the taste of all these battles, and it took me time and years to understand that everything what happened to me that stage, even today, he led me to this moment to talk Christopher Rausch. I'll tell you this in a second. English is not my first language, as everybody knows. So, blas. We can, put this in a context in habla inglese. It's my fifth language. I came to Australia in 98.
Wow.
And I came to Australia in 98 as a head of intelligence for Croatian government in Croatian embassy in Canberra in Australia.
Wow.
My English was very limited. I knew it Russian and German and, some Italian and some love language, hoping I'm going to find somebody because I was going to divorce. But then what's happened? You start meeting people, Chris, and you're going to meet people in your life who's going to put you down because you want to do this. Nobody can change me if I don't want to change myself. If I don't change myself, if I'm not capable to change myself, I need to change environment. And that's what the most of people failing in this. They're stuck in continuous same environment. The moment I left Croatia for my job, official job, government sent me, I felt relief. You know what? First thing, as my mom, she was now 20,000 kilometers far away. Everybody who I know was over there, and I'm more accountable, responsible for my actions, which basically means I'm working in Croatian embassy in the Department of Foreign Affairs, and my action is being monitored by everybody in embassy and my bosses back in Croatia. Wow. And I need to do the best possible I can, a 26 years old man, to represent my government in the right light. It took me years before I realized that everything what I did in my life, everything was happened to my life, I asked for. I didn't have the Tony Robbins, in best case, Christopher Rausch to help me to understand, because I know you coaching people and you share with me many, many things with my life. But I'm fucking serious. If somebody start bitching and moaning how life is unfair, how life is bad, it is because you chose it, that one. Don't tell me it's not possible. When I can go into this in a 7 hours conversation with you, why it's possible was not possible. But why I said today it's important. I was with my son a few weeks ago in Croatia, And we, I said to him, I need to take you for on a cemetery. You want to come with me? If you don't want to come with me, that's okay. Stay in hotel, call the chicks, they have a Tinder in Croatia. Don't worry, just do the room service for you. I just leave you alone.
Yeah.
He says to me, no, Dad, I want to come with you. And I come to one grave, to second grave, third grave. And finally, in front of my son, I said to my parents, oh, I forgive you. Now I know that you didn't do nothing better. And I don't blame you anymore. I truly don't blame you anymore. Because as much as life, it gave me, not to me, to everybody. Let's understand. Life gives you everything what you need at that very moment. But what life gave me in the last 5 years is the people I truly needed. And the thing is, yourself, mother of my child, Robert Brass, Clive Smallman, Troy Whitford, big professors who put me into direction, to educate myself, to do my masters, to go on my PhD. Like me, I never believe in that one, to write the books to people. So it's not what you are by nature, but by nurture. And I decided that I will stick myself with the people who like yourself, and as I again, today I'm running my own podcast studio with the people who are more qualified than me, the people who are believing in me, who told me, don't worry for your English, shit English, forgive yourself, and you're gonna do better. And Chris, what forgiveness, it's as a what's it called, Vin Diesel in the movie Man on Fire, is between them and God. You know what I mean? I just arranged a meeting. It's bullshit. So while I was in Croatia, I saw my son. He was sleeping on a bed. I mean, he's a diabetic. He needs to wake up. He has all these sweets. And then he realized I ate all his sweets, so he's pissed off. I was looking at him. I said to him, I said, like, listen, dude, I know that life I gave you is not the best. I'm not the best father in the world. I'm not the boy with a fucking manual.
Yeah.
But if you want to be better man than me, you are. That you are fighting every day. Your odds. You're fighting your battles and everybody else. And I realized my job through my books is to not inspire the people. Sorry, I'm a little bit emotional. Not just to inspire or motivate people. If you want a motivation, inspiration, go on a fucking YouTube. There's plenty of these influencers. If you want to just get a Tony Robbins, and his books, you just read his books. Everything's beautiful there. It is fucking not. When you realize that moment you born, you give the deadliest diagnosis, you're gonna die. And life is so precious, it's so short. And if you want to spend the rest of your life grudging and fucking hating people around you, go for it. That's what you are. Because my father, Chris, I remember, I buried everybody I know, Chris, in my life. Like literally, I said to every my friend is dead, and they lost the purpose one day when they left military. They lost the purpose. They start doing things. They're never gonna do the drugs, the robberies. They become the fucking big deals, mafiosos and everything else. If you don't have the purpose, your life, be upset, be angry with everybody, blame everybody. But you know what? Nobody gives a fuck. And I was an expert, Chris, and trust me, thank you for asking this. If I can make the manual about blaming the world, it's me, Mario Bekes.
Yeah.
And if I was go to all these big secret meetings, of the people and the presentations, no, you don't. You need a one person to change your life, like yourself. You're gonna change one person life at a time. My life is changed as well with a few people who are better than me in every aspect of my life. They believe in me. They told me, go in university. I hate my mom. It's my mom's fault. How long I can need to blame my mom?
Exactly. I love that. It's so true. I mean, we sit there and blame so many other people for our past. It's like, how can you get over yourself if you blame everybody else and you take the power away from yourself, right? So when you sit there and accept responsibility, here's where I'm at. What can I do today in order to change what it was in the past? The past is just electrical energy in our brain. There's no physical evidence of the past. It's all in how we view it. Like I always tell people, where energy flows where focus goes. So if you focus on being a victim, you're going to continue to be a victim. But if you change and you get empowered like you did and sat there and said, hey, listen, whatever is issue is going to face me, I'm going to go head on into it, and which is what you've done. I mean, that's pretty tremendous. So talk to us about the fact, in everything that you've been through, there had to have been a tremendous amount of fear. And we talk about in life, so many people are afraid. I started the show off today talking about, if you're afraid of something, go towards it, don't run from it. Talk to us about how we can overcome our perspective about fear and failing and making mistakes in order to see that it's a way they're stepping stones for our growth, right? When we go into our fear, we go into our mistakes, and we go into our failures, and supposedly if we learn from them, then they're actually educational opportunities. So talk to us about how we can overcome our fear of failure, our fear of making mistakes, and our fear of success, perhaps.
Look, I heard many great these public speakers who say, fell back, or fell on your face, or fear it's good, fear. Look, it's a part of emotion, and the fear, it's really product of our imagination. If you're really afraid of something, that fear is gonna eventuate. I just gonna go to this emotion. Recently, this year, I had a cancer scare. And that was the very first time when I said to myself, fuck, I should not smoking. I should not drinking. I should not do this. I should not do that. You know what? I walk in the doctor. So like, whatever it is there, I need to get, I'm going to get the news, either this or that.
Right.
Anyway, I was lucky enough. And she says to me, I'll see you next year. I said, oh God, okay. She says to me, please, when you're walking out, I want you to make sure that all these people outside, they don't see your emotions. Just walk out and don't worry, because everybody else after you comes for the bad news. You're the number one first in the morning, and that's good news. Everybody else is a bad news. Yeah. And I was like, shit, man, I was afraid. As I was walking out, I said to myself, okay, so I was brave enough to go in the war. No, I wasn't, Chris. If somebody says to me that I was the bravest guy in the world in a war, no, I wasn't. I was afraid. And there was more moments in the war when I was crying. And I'm not ashamed to admit this. I prayed every moment, God, please let me survive this night. Let me survive this night. I'm gonna lit the candle. I'm gonna help the homeless. Try to make a deal with the God. It doesn't work that way. It is your adaptation to the environment and your life. Fear, it's okay. And if somebody says he's not afraid, he's a liar. I'm telling you, he's a fucking liar. Mm-hmm. If any man comes to me, like you say, I'm not afraid of nothing. Dude, you will be afraid. I'm guarantee you.
So if it's a gun to your head, you're going to be afraid.
Look, I've been put in, not the war, but after the war, I've been in some trainings. I've been in some trainings where they literally torture my body and my soul. Right? In my second book, I explained the partial.
Yeah.
And I was afraid.
The Green Beret training, right?
Yeah, and I was afraid when I was jumping from the plane. Trust me. In the air, I was screaming when I landed. Man, Rumble! I just landed from the other.
I got it.
We're gonna repeat later. And I was like, "Fuck!" You know what I mean? Like, I was looking for excuses. I think we need to face the fears. Doesn't matter what it is. Fear, it's hard. It's difficult when you get the bad news, even good news. But as I said, like fear, it's a part of growing up. It's a part of your resilience part to resilience. There is no moment in your life that you're gonna face everything is okay. Chris, you agree with me. You have many clients, many people who talk. Oh, yeah. When everything is a pink and rosy, everybody's a fucking general. Everybody. But when the things start hitting your face, and I realized now when I was with my son on trip, I'm 50 years old man, and I couldn't do some things, and I was a little bit, afraid. I didn't know. Nobody can teach you not to be afraid. You can control the pain. Pain is controllable because pain is literally in your body, and it doesn't matter how much you go into the ordeal of pain. Pain you can control till you can't something manage your doctor or the hospital or something like this, right? But fear, it's a pure in our head. If you want to be afraid, you're gonna be afraid. If you're afraid, be afraid. Cry. I cried in a war. I cried, like when I was wounded. I saw the many men who were dying in my arms, several men that died. And when I heard the last words of every man was a mother, I was just shocked, because I couldn't handle, if I died, I need to call my mom, that was for me. Yeah. But reality is, every dying man was asking for his mother, not for the child, not for the wife, for the mother.
Yeah.
And I realized there's some connection between the man and the woman, in general speaking, mother, son, or husband, wife, or whatever it is, there is something connection, some symbiosis of some things. And if I'm afraid, if my son is afraid, I feel that fear. I can see it, right?
Yeah.
And I say, Chris, it's okay to be afraid. And if somebody says he's not afraid, just send him to me. I'm gonna explain.
Spent 20
Lives,
minutes with Mario.
yeah, lives. Chris. Everybody's a big deal on the camera. Everybody knows to whisper. You saying a few minutes ago, I couldn't go in the army and then let somebody spit in my face and push me do the push-ups and everything else. Do you know why they're doing this? It's not because they have nothing better to do, because they want to articulate message to one person so everybody else can hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you don't understand the military, it's a purpose. Purpose in military is not to make a happy Chris or Mario, Rob, or Santa Claus. It's to make a happy government. Government is a happy. Why? Because they can sleep, they can steal, they can do whatever fuck they want. You know what I
Right.
mean? They have a longer stick in the hand, they can fucking slap somebody because the military is dead already. That's what the military is. The military says you don't feel the pain. Yes, you feel the pain, but they don't want your pain comes from your private life into military lifestyle. They don't want your emotions. Your girlfriend, she dump you so you can fucking cry me here. There's no crying here. You know what I mean? You're gonna cry when we tell to cry. So it's everything. It's a compartment in the military. Everything's put in compartments, and you don't open these drawers because you're not allowed to open these drawers. You and I can. And I'm telling you, fear, it's okay. You will overcome fear only if you decided to overcome and you realize you have the one life. You have that, the moment you're born to the moment you die. Every day you have the same exact amount of time, seconds, minutes, whatever you want to call. Live your life. Doesn't matter what you do. You're born with deadly diagnosis. You're gonna die. Me, you, and everybody. But what you can do, it's teach people legacy, like a Chris you're doing with your son, and tell me, do you enjoy talking to your son?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, every day. This COVID thing, the worst part of the COVID thing is I cannot hug my son. We actually, I stay upstairs. No shit. I haven't been talking that much during this interview because I want you to talk. But literally, the toughest part for having COVID is I'm quarantining upstairs. My wife's been sleeping in the guest room. Is I can't hug and kiss my son. And I absolutely, I told her today, and it gives my hair stands up on my arm. I can't hug and kiss him. Like, I just want to be with my family, because family's so important. I mean, there was no replacing that. He is my why. He's my why for taking better care of myself. He's my why for advocating for everybody to do better in their lives and to make this world a better place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're talking about fear. You have faced fear so much, and you have faced death so much. So let me ask you this, Mr. Mario, what are you afraid of now? And how are you afraid of now? Number one. And then how is your perspective about death now? So what's your biggest fear? And then what's your perspective about death?
I'm advising everybody to again, I need to reflect something from the trip. So I took my son, in my town, my birthplace, and he says to me, Dad, this is such a small city. So like, what do you think? I was born in New York,
Right.
like it's 75,000 citizens in that city. But we went in the old church, which has been erected in 14th century. Based, so all bones of the dead people died from the plague, from the Black Plague. And you can see a lot of dead bones, the bones from dead people's skulls and everything else. And I said to my son, this is what we become. This is what it is. This is our life. We are born small and fragile, and that's what we're gonna become, just the bones. And someone's gonna use it as a structure for the church, like in Croatia. But am I afraid of the dying? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'll be honest with you. Not for the purpose of I'll not be able to talk to you or my son or my friend Rob or people around me. I'm afraid that I will not have enough time to pass all my knowledge, experience to other people. But one thing certainly makes me happy. Every moment when I close my eyes, now on a trip, and I'm seeing my son, and I call him midget. He's not midget. He's taller than me. He's a 6'10". He's a big unit, and I don't know who's his daddy anymore. But okay, jokes aside, I saw that he's become better man than I will ever become. And that whatever I injected into him, inserted on my schooling or my education or my stories, he's going to use this for the better good for this planet. And I can't, I believe there's some different life after this. I choose to believe. But
so do I.
That, as much as it's normal, it's not normal, because we all, love to think we're going to live forever. And I said to people, live every day work every day. I'm gonna quote now my friend, and you met him, Rob. He has a two fucking speeds. He's for him is like everything is working and sleeping. You know what I mean? Uh, and just it just doesn't make a sense what he said that, but that's okay. But sometimes I want people understand. Doesn't matter how much effort you put. Our time is limited on this
Yeah.
planet. Live the life, live the legacy, write the books, educate the kids, be the kind to the people around you, because the death is imminent, it's certain. And if you think that you're gonna be like yesterday, you're gonna be today like 10 days ago, you're not. You're gonna be older, you're gonna be wiser. And surround yourself with the people. That's another thing I learned. Surround yourself with the people who's gonna bring best in you, like Chris and me. And that's like, I enjoy talking to you and enjoying your channel. I'm enjoying how you're talking to your guests, like it. This is what, again, I need to quote, I had quoted this person, Rob Brass again. Shit, man. I mean, because spending far too much time with him. But you and I, what we're doing, and this is the courage you display, Chris. We are created a time capsule, right? We are mm, recording everything what's happening in our life. And one day, 20, 30, 40 years time after we go and meet our maker, this video is going to stay for the future generation.
Yeah.
Make sense? And a
Makes
lot of
sense.
people, like my father, God bless his soul, when he was dying, he wanted to so much to tell me, so much to share me, but it was not enough time. And I said to him, "It's okay, Dad. I mean, I need to go in hospital tomorrow, do my surgery, take the sharpness from my mouth. See when I come out of hospital." Somehow I knew that won't happen, and I realized he died very young, 59 years old, and he chose to die. He chose to die.
Yeah.
He chose all his life. He was choosing to start back and not to realize his dreams. And what I admire in you, Chris, and people I'm surrounded, is that people from nothing creating something. And this is the something I enjoy doing today, sharing my wisdom, my life story to the social media channel like yourself, to your listeners. And if one soul says today, I understand that life is a battle and I need to go to these battles, and you're going to have the times of relaxation, recuperation, but you can't win every battle. But with every battle, you can make it more allies. Like I get friendship in you and other people. At the end of the day, the war is your legacy and your family.
Mm. Mario, dude, I could sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and hours.
I know this is time to relax.
I still have another 35 questions to ask you, but in the interest of protecting your time and everybody who's watching and listening on the podcast, what is if you in today's world and to say today's society and everything that's going on, you experience so much. You talked about the Serbs and all the different labels that we put on things, right? Us versus them. Here in the United States right now, we got the left versus the right, and they're talking about an American Civil War and people taking arms and all these other things. What advice do you have for people right now who are thinking that is a positive way to go, to divide? Do you think that we should be in tribes, or do you think there is a world community where we can get away from having these labels and actually just realize that we're more the same than we are different? What are your thoughts on that? Because when you were talking about, when I was reading about your girlfriend being Serbian, I was like, so what? Why does that fucking matter? We're all human beings. We're all here we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. What does it matter what color, what shape, what political party, what sexual orientation, what anything that we are? Do you see there's going to be a point in the world where we're going to be able to have that true homogenization, I guess it is, where we can all come together and not be so us versus them?
I can say this from the different level. The war itself, it's hell. Hell is a war, and in war nobody goes. Politicians doesn't go in a war, and their family doesn't go in a war. They are there to profit, to make money, and enjoy the life. The tragedy with every conflict, doesn't matter how brutal or aggressive or violent it is, whatever's happened prior to the war is going to happen after the war. So everything what was alive before any conflict is going to be the after the conflict. So doesn't matter. Look at the Second World War, which is very close to us. We fought, the Nazis and the Japanese and everything else, and the war world has come together in different shape or forms. It's come back again into the same borders, same, original, the structures and, beliefs and everything else, which we are monitoring heavily not to be more, what's it calling, more radicalized, everything else. So my advice to everybody is, it's before you decide to go against your neighbor, against your family member, against your friend, ask yourself question, will your life be better once when you start taking lives? Because the pain, it's something we can't replace. Just a quick one, 96, when the war officially finished, and peaceful integration comes across all the territories we didn't liberated by the military operations. I saw the first thing what put people together was the music. So there was a UN, the Croatian sides and the occupied sides where the Serbs live, and the Croatian police force was slowly coming in. First was the music, music was sell, between the two of them. Then, families start meeting and everything else. And the pain I saw, it was unbearable because they lost the time, which nobody can return. Graves, nobody can, you can't tell nobody who's dead, can't be alive anymore. And life, it is as it is. So think about yourself, look yourself in the mirror and think what you can do better to protect the people you love, not what you can do worse and how much pain you can inflict, because pain goes both ways. There's nobody in any conflict, in any circumstances, unaffected. And once when that pain becomes scream, the judgment is terrible. Because I'm advising everybody, look in the mirror and see what you can do to make a place better, not the worst.
That's Mario Bekes. I gotta say, here's a mic. Here's the microphone right there. Mic drop. Mic drop. Bam. Mic drop. This has been a phenomenal conversation, dude. I could totally talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I want to have you back here on the Raw&Unscripted show. I want to have you on the Unfiltered Experience, because truly, guys, if you're just joining us, pardon my COVID talk, but please, I'm gonna put these books inside the link. Blood Soaked Oil. This is one, and then this is a recent one, True Price of Freedom. And they are remarkable books. I read them in the last 24 hours. So they're not, it's not going to take you weeks to read. And I can promise you that you're going to come out of this experience absolutely empowered, inspired to be a part of the solution, not be a part of the problem. Mario, where can people get a hold of you? Where can they connect with you on social media and continue this conversation?
Look, it's best way to just go on my website, mariobekes.com.au, or at least, if you like to, see how beautiful I am, in some of my videos as well, you can come on Instagram, Mario Bekes, or the YouTube, Mario Bekes as well.
Yes. Instagram, Mario Bekes, and then www.mariobekes.com.au. The links and everything will be in the show notes for you guys who are listening on the audio podcast or who are not watching here on the video podcast. Mario, brother, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for sharing your story publicly. Thank you for being an advocate for humanity. That's something we didn't even get into. That's why I want to have you back on the show, because I'm a part of the board of directors for Help Heal Humanity, which is an international organization. And what the hell did I just do? I took something off my screen. I just tripped out.
Maybe I pressed something.
Press the wrong. Where'd it go? No, I took the comments away there first.
That's great.
Dude, you are absolutely an amazing individual. I can't thank you enough. And I'm going to put you backstage for a second. Don't go anywhere, so we can still chat afterwards for a minute. But I'll put you backstage. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chris. Thank you to your guests, to your audience. Thank you for giving me a chance, to Mario Bekes, to talk to you guys today. Thank you.
You got it, brother. You got it. I'll be right with you. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit. We went a little bit over an hour, so I apologize for that. But I wanted you guys to really get a taste of what Mario's experience is and was on the front lines of his life, the battlefield of his life. Think about it. He didn't even do his story initial justice. I mean, there's so many different parts that you guys must read his book and just realize that out of all this adversity, out of all this anguish and fear and hatred and everything else that's going on in life, you, the one watching this, has the power within yourself to shift your perspective, to go, I'm a victim, to maybe I have an open mind, to maybe I'm a victor. Talk about those things, shift your perspective. If you're constantly pointing fingers at everybody else, when you're pointing your finger, how many fingers are pointing back at you? 3. So like Mario was saying, the best thing that you can do when you're angry and you're frustrated about everything that's going on in the outside of the world, that's a mirror. That's a mirror to you. So when we often don't like let me try this again, COVID brain. What we don't like in others is something that we don't like in ourselves. So if you're finding yourself frustrated and bitch pissing and moaning about everything else that's going on in the world and blaming everybody else, that's an opportunity to look within yourself and to decide what it is that you can do differently. Who could you have in your life differently? What different plans and perspectives can you have about your past, present, and your future? How can you identify the fact that, one of the worst things in the world, and you guys who follow me on social media know that every one of my posts, I put hashtag no regrets. And Mario talked about that his father, upon his deathbed, had so many regrets that he didn't live the life that he wanted to live. He lived a life of complacency, mediocrity, anger, frustration, and everything else. And then he got to the end of his life and he went, wow, I didn't really do anything. I didn't do the things I wanted to do. And that's what I want for you guys. I don't want you guys to end up with regrets. I don't want to end up with any regrets. So that means we have to take responsibility for our actions, the things that are going on within our brains right here, right? I've got a tattoo that on my arm that says, what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. I had to put that on my arm in 2016. You guys know my story of all the shit I've been through. My homelessness and everything else that I went through as a teenager wasn't the end of the challenges I had. I've had lots of challenges throughout my life, lots of potential addiction problems throughout my life. But fortunately, I've been smart enough to be on the front end of those things to make sure they didn't take control of my life because I did the work. I went to therapy. I took the medications. I did the things that I needed to do. I got coaches. I got around positive people. I let all the people go out of my life that were not serving my best interests. Here's the thing I want you guys to do. Take out a pen and paper and write down the 5 people that you're around the most. And then write down next to their name, are they positive or negative? They don't get anything between. Are they positive or negative? Do they promote you and tell you to go take your risk? Go out and risk, quit your job and go do the things that you want to do? Or are they, oh, play it safe. You should do this. You should do this. You should do this. You should do this. If you got a bunch of shoulda people in your life, wish them well. I wished my sister well back in 2005. I said, I can't take this. I'm not going to do it. I wish you well. She was a permanent victim in her own life. And there was not any way, shape, or form I was going to allow that toxicity in my life again. I already dealt with it with my mom. I wasn't going to deal with my sister. So I wished her well. And that was a tough thing to do. It's been a tough thing for me to do all throughout my life. But if somebody's not on my team, if they're not sitting there advocating for me to grow and to go take risks and to live my life and to become the no excuses coach and to wear the bandana and to swear, whatever, I wish them well. You got to have people in your life that want to advocate for your opportunity and realize that everything that has happened in your life, you have survived. 100% of the situations in your life up until this point, we're having this conversation right now, you have survived those. And not only have you survived those, through those challenges, let me ask you, when have you learned the most? Do you learn the most when things are easy and super chill? Or do you learn the most when you go through those challenges? Of course, you learn when you go through those challenges. So why not have the perspective as challenges come into your life? Why not sit there and say, what is this I'm supposed to be learning from this? Why is this lesson showing up in my life right now? Mario had a ton of lessons in his life, and he became this beautiful human being that I really didn't know much of about his backstory until I read these books. And I was like, how can this guy who's so positive and so loving and so caring have gone through those experiences? I know so many people, and no disrespect to my friends that are watching this who have been in war and have been in the military, they come back and they have post-traumatic stress disorder and they have different things that are going on. Try to decide for yourself how you can mitigate that and realize that you have the power within yourself to try to change where it is that you're focusing on and to become that different person for yourself so that you ultimately don't have those regrets. I could go on and on about this. I love you guys. Happy New Year. Apologies for the COVID brain and the sniffling and the coughing, but I just appreciate you guys. And I apologize. I didn't get a chance to get to your comments here. So I'm just going to run through them real quick here. Thank you, Robert, for being here. Appreciate you. We had Tara Nicole in the house. She says, hi guys, considering you have COVID, you look great, Chris. Well, thank you. I am sitting here not breathing because I don't want to cough. So appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. And she says here, she goes, I'm sleepy because it's late here. I wanted to drop in the show. My love for you guys and wish you both a happy new year. Can't wait to listen to the rest of the episode tomorrow. Speedy recovery, Chris. Talk to you soon. Thank you. We got Walt McKinley in the house. He says, what's going on, fellas? Let's go. And he says, happy brother new year. We got Robert in the house. He's saying amen. He was digging everything. We got Adam Duvall from England. He says, what's up? Good morning from England. Thank you, Adam, for being here. I appreciate you, dude. And Walt says here, proud of you both for breaking the cycle, turning that pain into purpose. Walt, you know it, baby. You know it. Warrior, let's go. Or as me and Walt talk about, LFG, let's fucking go. Adam says here, finally nice to catch you live, Christopher Rausch. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're doing well. Happy New Year. Congratulations on your upcoming new addition to your family. Most definitely. Walt says here, anger will poison your soul. It is a powerful emotion that leads to a spiral. 100%, big time. Got my beautiful sister from another Mr. Tara Murney in the house. She says, hello, gentlemen. Thank you, Tara, for being here. I hope that your daughter is doing much better. Send prayers and love to Tara. Her daughter, unfortunately, had to go to the emergency room for a breathing situation. So we hope she's doing well. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Robert. I'm going to get to your comments. You know I will. We got Eric Swanson in the house. Chris, you're an awesome leader. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Happy New Year. Thank you for the Marco Polo messages. I've been sick with COVID, so I haven't really been doing anything with my phone. Just been, actually the last couple of days, I've been reading books. Renee Gordon in the house. She says, what an inspirational message. Thank you, Renee, for being here. I appreciate you for being here. And Tara says, thank you for sharing. Inspired. Thank you, Tara. You are a beautiful human being. Appreciate it. And Robert says, hey, no need to apologize. Greatness, Christopher. Appreciate Robert big time. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a brand new year. This is a brand new you. Let's stop. Let's stop the finger pointing. Let's stop the blaming. Let's stop the hating. Let's stop the negativity. Let's stop listening to the news. Here's my challenge for you. Here's my New Year's resolution for you. Go. Let's see how I can do this. Let's go 2 weeks. If you watch the news every single day, let's go 2 weeks and don't watch the news, and watch how much your life improves. Watch how much your mood improves. Watch how much you become a more part of the solution than part of the problem. We got so much shit going on in the world. We're all more the same than we are different, and we need each other right now. We all need each other to lift our spirits up and to leave this world a better place for our kids and their kids. So thank you for being here. I'm Christopher Rausch. We will see you next time here on the Raw and Unscripted show. I'm going to go back to bed and nurse my COVID crap and hopefully not have to go to the hospital. I love you guys. Peace.